That's not good. That's not good. That's really not good. They can't say that on the live stream. Yo, I had an entire video recorded. I was getting ready to edit it, and I decided to go through the comments on the Boz versus Castro video that I just put up. And I also want to say thank you to everybody who watched that, because it's freaking wild that there were 3,200 views on that in the first hour. I think that might be the most views I've ever had in the first hour of a video ever. So freaking thank you for everyone who watches my stupid videos, comments on my videos, cares my videos, and most importantly, defends my ass on Reddit. Makes me happy that they get all frustrated that I'm talked about on Reddit. But the reason I'm making a new video is because as I was going through the comments on the Boz versus Castro video, there was a comment by Karen Bellinger, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but I'll put it on the screen. And the reason I'm making a video on it is because it very much ties into the video that I had just made, but it gives some insight about the exact topic that I wanted to talk about, and that was the spectator viewing when it's done on the stream. The video I had made was about my experience in the Coliseum, at the venue, at North Park, wherever I may have been sitting, in the stands or in the media pit, and I was kind of feeling as if there was something lacking there, and that's because I haven't yet had the experience of watching it on the stream. I watched the sandbag event last night, and what I got into a little bit was that it's much better, in my opinion, to watch it on the stream than it was to watch it as a spectator. I'm not going to ever put that video together, so the big things I wanted to say is that there needs to be something that CrossFit does to make the spectator experience better. I don't know exactly what that could be, but when I watch it on TV, the gravity of that sandbag, see what I did there, because it's a heavy freaking thing and it's weighing on you, was way heavier. Again, heavier when watching it on the stream than it was watching in person. You're looking at it from a distance, and I wasn't all that far away, and it's like, okay, that doesn't look that heavy. Is that heavy? Who knows? It says 340 on it for the guys and 240, 250 for the females, and while we know it's heavy, it doesn't really look that heavy, especially they're not making it to look heavy. But when you can see the camera in those people's faces, and they're like exploding on the freaking camera, it makes you feel how heavy that bag is. They did a really good job when I was watching the sandbag event. Now, back to the comment by Karen Bellinger. I'm gonna go through the entire freaking thing because it's a story. You write a story in my comment section, you get a video about your story. So I asked, like, what do you guys think about the games, and were Dave or Boz better? And the first thing that Karen brings up is that it was a strange but great games. 100% agree, the best since 2009, but with growth issues. But overall, 100% agree, best CrossFit Games programming, worst produced CrossFit for the fan experience. And that's exactly what I want to know about. So they go further to say, here's my fan assessment for you. First off, you are the best thing for the future of CrossFit. Growth did not happen with good feedback. It is comical that your assessment has been seen as negative or toxic. Growth in business does not happen effectively without measuring your objectives. Yes, for some of the events, what the hell? But so what? That is what made these games super cool as a fan. It was just the production was so poorly managed that it distracted as a fan. So number one, thanks. I'm not trying to be toxic. I'm trying to be what Dave Castro says is necessary, whatever the hell he means by that. But more. Andrew, watch the CrossFit Games live stream from the start and you'll see what I'm talking about. Haven't done that yet. My heart goes out to the athletes who were affected by a few very important decisions which you pointed out. Fans are everything. Sponsors equal CrossFit. Fans equal sponsors. That's the business of sports, the chats, the comment section. We are your fans. Like us or not, it's how CrossFit gets paid. How the gym memberships grow. It's the business of sport. Growth is not only about the athletes themselves, affiliate owners, and experts like you. If the fans don't have the product, the business fails. Very, very true, and that's something that I try to bring up when you make the $65 t-shirt. You're really pissing off all of your fans, and they do that somehow, some way, in multiple ways that I've tried to touch upon. And it's not that I have ever hated CrossFit Games or I've ever hated Noble, but I can keep on seeing that they would be doing things that would piss off a bunch of people to the point where they might start to make their way out of the sport of CrossFit. They don't help the affiliates, so it's pissing off the lifeblood of the sport, of the community, of the methodology of the games. But then they're also like sucking us for everything that they're worth, and they're making the seats $400 to $1,000 to sit in. The games were great, and they were poorly produced at the same time. Yes, I admit on the live chat I had a lot of fun and was a vocal fan, but I am a fan. I would say that 2 out of 10 comments were negative. Example, event 3, a sample quote, what's next, double Dutch jump rope with singing? But I am a crazy intense fan. I got such pushback and negative comments from my simple fan exchanges, but no responses for my positive comments. Don't let them know our secrets. CrossFit and the online media needs to get a backbone about the fans and not take it so personally. When they attack the fans who dislike something, it's bad business. Fans talk shit and have fun. It's freaking sports. Can you imagine football fans watching CrossFit with this year's poorly run broadcast and being vocal on live chats? We all know that we are not CrossFit athletes, couch coaches, and sport bar nutheads, but that does not mean our opinion is not valid. And what I hear here is I think what Karen is bringing up is the fact that when you comment, sometimes CrossFit Games will comment back. And the only ones that seem to be getting any sort of attention, whether it be from CrossFit or from whomever was responding to, were the negative ones. How dare you say anything negative? That is in course unless you bring up the bike workout where all I saw were 1,000 bats. I tried to grab a screenshot of all the bats. But that was freaking cool. That was funny. Thank you for all of that. And that's a great point. Dave Castro realizes it, and when I bring up something negative, it's because for the longest time it was all sunshine and rainbows. That's the same thing Karen's bringing up. If you were to go watch a football game, you say, what the fuck was that call, ref? He was clearly out of bounds, but they're going to leave him in bounds, and it's going to spark conversation, and it's going to cause controversy, and any publicity is good publicity. And I suppose that's all I have to say about that. My review: this year's event was freaking great, but it was overshadowed in the end by poor media coverage. Starting with the press conference. Where were Ricky and Laura, your rookies of the year and spirit of the games, at the press conference? I'm old school. Celebration should be about the athletes, not the CrossFit leaders. It's obvious that Boz needs to be seen. LOL. Maybe 2 press conferences next time. One for the business leaders and one for the athletes. Overall, I feel blessed to have watched history this year. Rich, the rookies with Matt on the sideline. Justin looking like the 5-time champ and the greatest of all time, Tia. Huge notables. Laura, coming from behind the podium, was amazing. Emma, 17, the greatest rookie showing ever, coming from a dance background. Ricky's courage, like him or not, it's amazing courage to face the heat of competition on social media. Tia being tripped up on single unders being unbroken gives the public a false sense of hope in the competition. Jacqueline Dahlstrom, are you kidding me? Standing toe-to-toe on the heavy bag, taking second. Roman's work ethic and Ricky's wild approach, and Justin's CrossFit consistency, what a great race. Brooke Wells returned from injury, how can you not find that amazing? Yeah, she had help, but so what? I don't really know what that's talking about. Help? Proven? Huh? Kara's smile returns to the games with no support from Noble and CrossFit a true champion. Last but not least is the fight in Haley Adams. Game program does not favor her build like Sam Briggs, but her fight and determination are so much to watch. Can you imagine being in Ricky Garard's position and needing to wait 4 years to compete again against all of these people who may or may not hate you, and he's just doing his thing and then he finishes third again? The only thing that I want to know is where he would have finished each and every year in between there, and everyone's going to say, wasn't he taking a whole bunch of shit in the offseason? And I believe I recall Dave Castro making posts about how he was tested in the offseason, so that cuts that quote right off at the knees. Emma Lawson being 17, finishing where she did at the CrossFit Games is truly amazing. Laura was really low on the leaderboard. I think I saw her as low as in the 30s at some point, and then she comes up and finishes on the podium, so that was super freaking cool. Almost as cool as Remen Krennikov finishing in second in his first year ever, and also where would he have been if he was able to get into the freaking country? I was kind of worried about Kara because she was a little vocal about a couple of things, namely not being brought up by Noble as somebody who has been on the podium, pushing Tia Toomey the last time she was pushed, and being one of the longest tenured athletes not getting a freaking $65 t-shirt. So no support, and then she ends up finishing as well as she does. The game's coverage was difficult to watch as a fan. Seems as though there's a business marketing agenda behind the scene. Chase wouldn't stop talking about the core philosophy and methodology. At every event, he gave us a science lesson. Cool info in some ways, but it was stop talking and let's enjoy the moment and event. Did you ever have that person who talks throughout a movie on Netflix? They almost ruin the most important moments by telling us, while it was happening, how inspiring the moment was. I got so tired of these CrossFit Insider catchphrases and references. If you didn't know, it's about the unknown and unknowable, etc. If the sport wants to grow, then let go and do what you did. Mix it up and produce great programming, but please, do you have to repeat on every event the history and philosophy of CrossFit, and only to remove that core philosophical balance of gymnastics, strength, skill, and endurance at the end with the last 3 events? I and my sports fans at the bar laughed our asses off. I mean, Andrew, Sam Briggs, champion of 2013, would not have made the top 5 this year because of the lack of balance of the last 3 events. As fun as they were to watch, there was so much talk for 3 days about understanding the roots of CrossFit, yet thrown right out the window at the end. Then they were announcing the winners. They cut off at 6 or 7 and went to break or something. So we didn't even hear the announcements of 5th through 2nd. They just changed to talking again before getting getting back to Tia, it really felt like they didn't want us to see certain things on purpose. Now that was all very interesting to read right there. Been a fan since 2009. Sam Briggs, the winner of 2013, would not have done as well completely based on the last 3 events. If I had to come back at that a little bit, I would say that if you were to have done as well as maybe someone like Haley had done in the first couple of events, she would have been in position to finish higher. And if she were more well-rounded and not as knowledgeably deficient in her strengths, she would have been able to keep herself more towards the top. So I don't know if it's entirely good to use an example of Sam Briggs as the champion back then. Maybe the program was awfully skewed back then and it wasn't heavy enough. And if it is true that they cut off at 6 or 7 and you completely missed 5 through 2 only to bring in Tia Toomey again, then that's a huge fuck up, and I don't know why they would do that. I believe I actually made a comment in the comment section of my last video about one of the things that you may want to consider in order to increase the viewership, spectator experience of CrossFit is to make it less unknown and less unknowable and more known and more knowable. And I know it's grassroots CrossFit. I know that that might piss off a lot of people and it might change how the athletes go about doing things, but I would venture to bet if you were to have given everybody knowledge of these workouts earlier in the week, it wouldn't have really changed everything too much. Maybe Tia gets better on the single unders in that brief amount of time. Maybe everyone practices the crossover dumbbell unders a little bit, but they're not going to get way better at the shit that they're not going to get stronger. But what it does do is it helps the standards. Everyone knows kind of what to expect, what to look for when you're watching this stuff. The judges know what to look for. The athletes know what to expect, how to do the movements better, and that the spectators know exactly what's coming. That's just a quick one-off by me, though. The camera work was so bad that you couldn't follow the experience, so you just had Chase talking the entire time, like what the fuck is going on, and then they couldn't show the times of the race, so you were really in the dark. It was really bad. City college events are better produced. Many examples, but on day 1, Ricky G, did he do 4 or 5 laps? With simple standard production work, it would have been easy to watch as a fan to determine this. How could an event winner go unnoticed until the last 100 yards? We know how and why he won, but for us fans, it lit a fire. Yes, you and Sevan did a podcast, but all you talked about were the rules and the accountability. But no one talked about the viewing experience and the message that CrossFit is not ready from a production standpoint to go big time. I was watching my favorite lunch spot on my laptop and my friends thought it was a joke. Watch it, Andrew, from our perspective. We had to wait until the next day for them to show us an out-of-focus picture of a half-bite tire of the competitor Ricky was supposed to be behind that made it worse. They didn't even have footage of him to show to the public. We are on the honor system here, one of the commentators said. The chat blew up. That's not good. That's not good. That's really not good. They can't say that on the live stream, on the live broadcast. I do have to go watch it. That sounds terrible if that's true. Felt bad for Ricky. Put him in a bad way with the fans. I love how he handled it, but the production example is only the beginning. I can give pages and pages of production issues. I don't know where Karen got a degree in production quality, but it is exactly what I wanted to make a video about, and that is how it was viewed. And I can tell you that you don't get much more insight being at the event than you would watching it on the TV. Part of what I wanted to bring up in the other video was that I think you get way more when you're watching it on the stream than you do in public. And one of the things that they do need to figure out for next year is how to make it more friendly from both avenues so that more people know what's going on. Because if you don't know what's going on, I don't know how you're going to want more people to come into the sport. So that's my note to you, Andrew. I've been on board with you from the beginning. Thank you for your time you take. I am a survivor of 4 major surgeries in my last 15 months. You have helped inspire me to walk my own path and provided great entertainment and important content. I always tried to offer solutions, but I will speak my mind. CrossFit can be very important to the future of the wellness in our world. As a former coach and teacher, I really care. That little blurb right before that last part where they were kind of thanking me, so thank you for thanking me, was interesting because I have my own little take on that, and it said this is how you become a top 5 athlete. I've always liked CP battery. It's a test that I remember I did at a training think tank camp in 2016, and it was, hey, what's your best power clean? And then you had to do some sort of gymnastics piece followed by an AMRAP of power cleans at a certain percentage of that, and you can see how you would sustain yourself at a high effort compared in relation to your heaviest lift. It's something that Jacob Hepner was always very good at. He was never the strongest athlete, but he would be able to do repetitions over and over and over again at a relatively high percentage of his 1 rep max. What I saw this year is I saw that there are athletes who kind of missed the building process, and I saw that Bosman had maybe chatted about that a little bit. It's something that I saw in the handstand push-up. So if you were unable to do the straight wall-facing handstand push-up, or maybe you could do handstand push-ups with your back to the wall, it might show that you don't have quite the core strength that you thought you had. You might not have the shoulder development that you thought you had, and maybe you relied on like a broken position in order to get yourself through the repetitions. And I thought things like that were very cool. I also think that there are a lot of CrossFit athletes who have gone through the process to get where they at too quick. It's usually with the younger athletes, and maybe maybe that was exposed for some people, but again, you see people like Justin Medeiros at the top, Roman Krennikov, Ricky Garrard, Tia Toomey, Mal O'Brien, and Laura Horvath. Those are the people who are all put together really well over the course of a long time. And I guess Mal O'Brien wasn't put together over the course of a long time, but she has had good mentors, good coaches to get her there. And the people who you may have wanted to see at the top, but you didn't see at the top, were more of a means to an end than an ends to a mean sort of deal, if that makes any sense to you. I need to do how many ring muscle ups. I'm going to be able to do that no matter what, by any means necessary, without working the correct pieces to be able to do those things. That's kind of confusing. This has been kind of long, but it did kind of dive into the topic that I wanted to talk about, and that was the spectators' viewing experience of the 2022 CrossFit Games. What did you guys think having watched it? Throw that in the comments section. Adrian Hiller out.